Fastest man alive, what a fucking joke.
This video contains spoilers for The Flash. Do not watch this video if you haven't seen the movie yet, if you care. Finally, the Ezra Miller Flash movie has been released in theaters after like 10 years of waiting, and it wasn't great. It's no secret that this movie is a huge controversy because a literal criminal is playing the main character, the antagonist, and the protagonist. And also because a lot of people seem to either really hate this movie or seem to really love it. And I personally am in neither category, but at the same time, that doesn't mean I think it's good. I think the movie has a overall nice quick pace as I was never bored through it, and it even kind of tricked me into thinking that I was enjoying myself. It starts off with a pretty cool action scene, but then it kind of ends with some shitty Joss Whedon level humor, like they'd expect out of Justice League, and it kind of immediately took me out of the movie again. This movie does it often, where you will be shown something pretty cool, but then you will immediately be shown something again that kind of sucks ass and reminds you why this movie isn't very good. Another example is the emotional climax in the final battle, where Barry and his younger self are arguing, but then when you're really invested into it, suddenly we get these tasteless, shitty fucking cameos. And I mean it when I say these cameos suck so goddamn bad. They are tasteless, pure, useless fan service. And I hate how they revive the dead actors here, like Christopher Reeve and especially George Reeves, who literally died because of his role as Superman, and they brought him back as Superman. It's so bad, and I'd even say it's pretty disgusting. And it's kind of annoying because there were some other fun cameos. Michael Keaton, even though he isn't really a cameo, was fun to return as Batman. I enjoyed Tamara Morrison's cameo, and Gal Gadot returning was fine. She's always just been kind of whatever in these movies, but also Ben Affleck returning was cool, and I like Jason Momoa, so seeing him was cool. That still doesn't make up for the shitters, though. Like, there's a Nicolas Cage as Superman cameo, which is really weird because that's fan service for a movie that never even came out. There was going to be a Superman movie a couple decades ago featuring Nicolas Cage in the role where he would fight like a giant spider thing, and they paid that off here because the movie was never made. And that's so fucking useless, and it's used as a fan service for those who've watched like 5-hour video essays. Like, what the fuck? Beyond its tasteless cameos, I think the movie has a lot of weird plot stuff too. Like, the main villain kind of sucks. He literally shows up like once around the beginning of the movie, and then he shows up for, I shit you not, 5 minutes at the end. And then he dies by accidentally erasing himself in the timeline. It's so fucking funny. It's such a waste of a cool concept because the idea of the Lucky Berry, the one who has a mother and a father out of prison, being the main villain is actually very interesting, but they don't do much with it. Another example of missed potential is Sasha Kaje as Supergirl. She had so much potential, and I was especially mad about this because I love Supergirl in the comics. I love pretty much everything I've read with her. She is genuinely one of my favorite DC characters. Go read Woman of Tomorrow, by the way. It's fucking great, and I cannot wait for that movie to be made. Anyway, Supergirl is literally nothing in this movie. She does nothing and she's just a plot device. She's only used to give Barry his powers back, and besides that, she's a plot device to get characters from the Batcave to that weird prison and wherever the fuck it was. Besides that, she has no character herself. There are little hints of what makes Supergirl such a compelling character, but they never develop any of it. Outside of like one single line, all she is used as is a killing machine to help the characters just get rid of enemies. Just like Flashpoint Superman, which really pisses me off. This genuinely made me angry. I don't really like the Flashpoint storyline, so it kind of pissed me off how much they took inspiration from it, especially when they didn't change anything to make it really good. Also, at the end of the movie, they established something similar to the absolute point in Marvel's What If or the canon event in Spider Verse, where there is a point or action in time that absolutely has to happen, and this literally comes out of nowhere. They suddenly established this for both Michael Keaton's Batman dying as well as Sasha Kaje's Supergirl dying. But this entire absolute point thing had never been a thing in the movie until just now. Something that needs to happen has never been a thing, and it comes out of literally nowhere just to give the secondary, like, a motivation, I guess. If you can even fucking call it that. And that makes me even more mad about Supergirl's treatment because all she does is show up, kill a couple people, help Barry get his powers back, and then do literally nothing except fucking die over and over again. This movie is just fucking allergic to using its high potential. And of course, I don't think you can talk about this movie without talking about how ugly it is. The CGI in this movie just straight up sucks. It does not look good, and the excuse that Andy Muschietti posted online just doesn't work. For those who don't know, the reasoning that Andy Muschietti posted online for why the Flash CGI kinda looks like shit is because we are seeing it from Barry's point of view, so everything just looks weird and distorted. But that doesn't work for two reasons. A, because it doesn't look good still, like that's not really much of an excuse, and B, because even when Flash isn't present, the CGI still sucks. And it's worse because there are some scenes that look good. Like I like when Flash starts running and the camera kind of zooms out in a weird way. It looks really cool. And the way that they visualize time travel looks pretty awesome as well. Another really ugly thing in the movie are the suits. The suits in this movie just straight up suck. Michael Keaton's Batman suit looks weird in a lot of shots, but it looks fine in others. It's a very mixed bag if you ask me. Also, I fucking hate Young Barry's suit. I really despise how ugly it is. And I know that's kind of meant to look ugly because it's meant to look all thrown together, but I don't know why they had to make it look this bad. Personally, I think it would have been really cool if they gave Younger Barry the suit that he used in Zack Snyder's Justice League. A, because that suit just works much better as like a prototype suit, and also it looks cooler. Why don't you want your characters to look cool? Also, I don't like Barry's main suit. I like the ring and the way that it looks, but I don't like the textures on the actual suit, and the cowl looks pretty weird. I'll admit it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be based on the trailers, but it still doesn't look good, especially because it has this weird pattern that's trying to look like a circuit board, but on the arms and legs, it kind of just looks like a ball sack. The texture on it seriously looks like a scrotum, and I don't know how anyone can think that this looks good. It is so fucking weird to me. However, the one suit that does look good in the movie is Supergirl's suit. I love how it is literally just a female version of the Superman Man of Steel suit. It's literally just the Man of Steel suit, but designed to be worn by a woman, which is why it also has some really neat things like getting rid of the skirt on a regular Supergirl suit, which is the equivalent of getting rid of the trunks on the regular Superman suit. I think it's a really neat version of the suit for this version of Supergirl in this universe. While on the topic of positives, I might as well mention that seeing Michael Keaton's Batman back was pretty fun. I never really cared for him in the Burton movies, however, I don't know, he was just kind of entertaining here. Also, there are some aspects of the movie that I do genuinely really like. Again, I think that some of the opening is pretty cool besides the Justice League humor. And I like all the origin aspects of the movie. I think it's really clever how this movie kind of gets around the origin part by not having the origin segments to our current Barry, but instead to the younger Barry. If you ask me, that's a pretty clever switch around for it as a way to get this character moving while also showing us where he started. And I do actually enjoy the dynamic between Barry and younger Barry, as I think they have some nice emotional scenes together. Plus, the final emotional payoff in this movie is pretty satisfying if you ask me. However, I do think that it is nearly impossible to talk about this movie without mentioning Ezra Miller. Everyone knows the amount of crazy shit that they've been doing and saying, and a lot of people have not been wanting to watch the movie because of that, because they don't want to support them. And I think that's pretty fair. You can't really blame anyone who doesn't want to watch this because of Ezra Miller. I'm going to admit it here, I don't necessarily think that they should have reshot the movie. I don't even think that they should have canceled it or anything. I just wish that WB at least mentioned it. But WB basically stayed radio silent when all this shit was going down, and then they even said that they might bring back Ezra Miller for a potential Flash sequel. And it's like, that just sends a completely different message from what you should be trying to send here. Like, what the fuck? That doesn't give me any reason to be confident in your movie. And yeah, no shit, the movie's fucking flopping right now. The movie is definitely gonna flop harder than Black Adam and Shazam 2, which is pretty funny to me. Anyway, I guess that makes it a pretty fitting ending for this shitty universe, because goddamn, even though there have been some things that I've enjoyed in this DC universe, there's been a lot of stinkers. Well, goodbye DCEU, hello DCU, I cannot fucking wait. For this movie, I've been kind of flipping around a lot of areas, because at first I gave it a 5 out of 10, then I kind of want to give it a 3 out of 10, but for now, I think I'll settle on a 4 out of 10, because I think that's pretty fair. I think that this movie really set itself up by coming out only a couple weeks after Spider-Verse, because that movie compared to this one, it's like fucking night and day. Spider-Verse is a much better movie, it's a much better multiverse movie, it has much better cameos, and it has a way more emotional story if you ask me. Fuck basically everyone who said that this movie is better than Across the Spider-Verse and the best comic book movie of 2023. Like, come on, man. No, it's not. However, it's not the worst comic book movie of the year. Not even close.